My name is Alan Trombley. I'm from Negotcook in Tobic here. I was born and raised here. Born in 1946. There was a convent here where the nuns used to live. They were teachers in our Indian day school. So 1952 I started school and the nuns were had all the influence in our education. We were not allowed to speak our language or even talk about our culture in any way, shape, or form. If we did, we usually got the strap. So anyway, and I remember, I think I was in grade 4 or 5 when I got the strap for speaking my language, and had my knuckles wrapped a few times with a pointer. So the church pretty well ran our school system here. And anyway, and we attended a school called Indian Day School, Tobic Indian Day School here in our community. And we went here until grade 7. Past grade 7, we were transported downtown to a high school um, to finish our education, and it was no better there. We were treated quite firmly there as well, and I had friends that went to Indian residential school in Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia. But back then, nobody ever talked about residential schools. It was not a topic talked about. But we used to have my friends disappear every year for months at a time, and then we'd see them in the summertime, and nobody thought anything about it. But the only advantage we had going to Indian Day School here, we got to go home every day. So our language did not die as a result of the school because our mother and grandparents and uncles and aunts all spoke the language when we were home. So I've been lucky enough to be able to keep my language. I'm a fluent speaker. I am now a writer, interpreter, translator for our language. After graduation there, I got a chance to move away from our community, and I moved to Fredericton, like most people did here. Moved to Fredericton, and I went to university there, and I was in my third year at St. Thomas University when I got a job. I applied for a job with the federal government in Nova Scotia, and I got it. So I dropped out of school, dropped out of university. So I worked with them for 2 years in Amherst, Nova Scotia, with Indian and Northern Affairs, it was called at the time. After 2 years there was a job opening in Toronto with the same department, but one level up in my position. So I applied and I got the job. So I moved to Toronto. I was there for 5 years, and eventually I ended up with Indian Northern Affairs in Vancouver, British Columbia. So I've been right across the country with them. And after a couple of years in Vancouver, I just got tired of all the government crap we were going through, so I just left and came home. And eventually, I went back to college over in Maine, and I finished I have a business degree from a college in Maine. So, so there was a job opening in town for a native teacher, so I applied. So I got the job. Anyway, so I taught at the high school in town for 9.5 years. And the funny part about this is that the school system in town that used to strap me for speaking my language hired me to teach it. So anyway, I ended up teaching a native history course and native language course there for 9.5 years. And I did not like the atmosphere in that school at all. And the, um, the prejudice that we went through going to school was still there, not as open and like it was when we were going to school, but it was still there, and I don't think that'll ever go away because it came when when we had first contact with the people, and it's still there today. Not as extreme as it used to be, but it's still there. And as a teacher there, I don't think I got the respect that other teachers got when I was teaching there. I was just somebody there they hired to do the job. But but I'm happy I got the chance to have the experience, you know, And I always tried to be on the to be like a close ally with the kids going to school in town, because a lot of these teachers would be they didn't know where the kids from our community were coming from, what kind of a home life they were having, so they just didn't bother with it. But I knew where they were coming from and some of the problems they were having at home. So I was more of an ally for them, while I was there. But I left after a while, after 9.5 years. I remember when I decided to stop teaching, I went to see my father for advice. Very rarely I went to my dad for advice, but one day I went to see him. I said, Dad, I have a question. I said, it's getting to the point I don't even want to get up and go to work in the mornings. I loved it when I started. I really enjoyed it. But I told him, I said, I'm getting to the point that I don't even want to go to work in the mornings. He didn't tell me to stay. He didn't tell me to leave. What he told me made up my mind. He said, if I felt that way about a job, I wouldn't be there. It was just like he took a ton of bricks off my back. So I went to talk to the principal. It was in May of that last year I was there. I went to see him. I said, I won't be back in the fall. And that's when I left. And then somebody else was hired to do my job. It was a lady from the Woodstock First Nation got the job after I left there. So that's pretty well my background in my education and my work, just part of it. Like I'm going to be 80 in April, so I've done a lot more than that. I've done jobs that weren't glamorous, but they were jobs. It was an income for me, and most of them were over in Maine because they wouldn't hire us to do anything over in town here. So we had to go across the border to work. So that's basically where I'm coming from.